Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Ethereum has finished this brand new pattern that is forming on the charts, and we are just about to potentially see a break of this level. In just a moment, I'll give you guys a quick update on the price targets for this pattern, and also I'll be updating you guys on Ethereum versus Bitcoin, because as you can see, we have seen a break to the downside here. So in just a moment in this video, I'll actually reveal my Ethereum versus Bitcoin strategy, and also towards the end of this video, I'll give you guys a quick update on Cardano again, because a lot of you have been suggesting Cardano in the comment section down below. So definitely make sure you're watching this video all the way to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, if you could just leave a like on the video down below, and if you could subscribe to the channel if you are new, that honestly means a lot to me and it helps out the channel so much. And obviously, just by spending a couple seconds out of your day to click the subscribe button, you're going to be getting this valuable content every day here on the channel, so I don't see why not. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, wanting Ethereum to US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame to start off with, just looking at the RSI and the MACD. As you can see, in the immediate short term, they are trending slightly to the downside, which basically just means that we have a pause on this uptrend, and potentially this can mean that we are due for some bearish price action. But once again, when we're in an uptrend like what we have been recently, the most common outcome from these downtrends in the RSI and the MACD is simply sideways consolidation in the price. For example, looking at the last time that we actually saw this, just back here in around the beginning of August, as you can see, we actually had a very bullish move for Ethereum leading into that short-term little top just here, and then we saw a bearish cross in the MACD, and both the RSI and the MACD on the 4-hour time frame started a short-term downtrend, as you can see there. But what actually happened in the Ethereum price was essentially just sideways price action for a while. So once again, basically just a pause on the uptrend before eventually continuing the uptrend later on, when we got this major bullish cross in the MACD and the RSI began surging to the upside. So with all of that in mind, once again, we could be in for some more sideways price action perhaps. But of course, if we break some significant support levels just here, then obviously that sideways price range can actually contain some bearish price action, like what we saw just here. For example, we were ranging sideways, but in the middle of that range, of course, we were seeing some bullish moves and some bearish moves throughout. And zooming in a little bit closer to the 2-hour charts here for Ethereum, as you can see, if we actually break the support line just here, this is the neckline for this head and shoulders pattern, which by the way, we've already formed the pattern. We're just waiting on a break of the neckline, and that is actually not guaranteed. I want to make that clear. But if we do break the neckline, then we have a bearish price action that we need to pay attention to. And first of all, the neckline that we need to hold above in order to remain bullish is coming in at pretty much exactly 3.9k. If we start breaking below 3.9k with strong confirmation, so what I would like to see is the volume pick up quite a lot here, and also if we can start breaking some of these previous lows just here to form a brand new lower low, then that is how you know that we're definitely breaking to the downside here. And getting into the technical price target for this pattern, if we do break the neckline just there, the technical price target is coming in at just above 3.7k, which is also this previous level of supports back here. And by the way, if that does play out and we get a bounce at around 3.7k, give or take, then that there could be the sideways range that we are setting up for Ethereum, once again in between roughly 3.7k and around 4,000, that $300 price range. Now zooming all the way out to the daily time frame for Ethereum, one really bullish thing that we are currently still seeing on the Ethereum daily chart is actually bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from the all-time high down to these lows at around 1700. As you can see here, the current price is still above the 78.6% Fibonacci level, which is coming in at around 3.8k. So if the price of Ethereum can remain above 3.8k, and more importantly, if we can use 3.8k as support to actually support the Ethereum price to the upside, then that will be extremely bullish. And honestly, if that continues as support here, then honestly, I would actually expect the all-time high to come into play not long after that. Because really, when you're looking at the big picture, between the current price and the all-time high, there's almost no resistance. There's seriously not much resistance left for Ethereum, once again, between the current price and the all-time high. And by the way, from the current price to the all-time high, that is only a gain of around 11%, which is obviously something that Ethereum can do in even a day. Now, I'm not saying that Ethereum is definitely going to do this tomorrow or anything, but obviously we are getting very close close to a push towards the all-time high, but also I would actually expect some resistance at the all-time high level because historically speaking, we have found resistance at previous all-time high breaks. So keep all of that in mind as well. But once again, if we do end up falling back below the 78.6% Fibonacci level at around 3.8K, then that is not a bullish sign. That is a short-term bearish sign if that plays out. And if that does play out, and of course, if we also break below these other previous support levels in the short term, like that 3.7K price target, for example, then our next major level to the downside is, of course, the previous golden pocket just here, which was massive resistance during that time period just here. And of course, when we have massive resistance and we break above it, that flips into new support. And that right now is coming in at roughly around 3.4K. Now getting into Ethereum versus Bitcoin. For the brand new viewers on the channel that don't know what this is basically Ethereum valued against Bitcoin rather than Ethereum valued against the US dollar. So this gives us a good indication on whether or not Ethereum is outperforming or underperforming against Bitcoin. And this is the 4-hour chart once again. And right now we have seen a break to the downside for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And I actually gave you guys an update in real time over here on my Twitter, revealing the fact that I did actually move a little bit of my Ethereum holdings into Bitcoin. It was only around 5 to 10% of my Ethereum. Now, this can actually be a risky strategy, so please make sure you do your own research rather than just blindly following someone on YouTube. But obviously, I didn't just randomly do this as well because we actually saw a small little break to the downside here on the 4-hour chart. As I covered in my Ethereum video that I posted 2 days ago now on the channel, it's the one that's titled "There's an 83% chance of a crash if this happens." And basically what I was talking about in that video, for those that missed it, was essentially I was just looking at previous years for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and more specifically Q4, so the fourth quarter of the year, in every single year so far in Ethereum's entire price history. And of course, right now we are entering the 7th year in history for Ethereum, the 7th Q4. And by the way, for the beginners out there that don't know what I mean by Q4, that's just the fourth quarter of the year, so between September and the end of the year. And yeah, looking at the previous 6 Q4s in Ethereum's entire price history, which is of course over the last 6 years in previous Ethereum history. And basically out of all 6 of those years, 5 out of 6 of those years have had a bearish Q4, a bearish fourth quarter of the year. Once again, 5 years out of 6 years, which is of course an 83% chance of a bearish fourth quarter of the year. Now, of course, this is just going off Ethereum's entire price history. There's no technical pattern that actually tells us this, and there's no fundamental reason as to why we should be bearish in the fourth quarter. Once again, it's just simply looking at previous price history, looking at the statistics of what has happened previously to determine the most probable outcome. And once again, the most probable outcome, technically speaking, is a bearish fourth quarter. Now, keep in mind that yes, in some of these previous Q4s, we did actually see some major crashes in the Ethereum price. I'm talking around 60% to the downside, but they were the most extreme of the examples. I want to make that clear. Out of the bearish years, the least bearish was actually only a 13% correction over the fourth quarter. And then of course we had that one year that actually wasn't bearish. That was during the end of 2019. As you can see, we actually had a 0.25% gain for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And also something else to keep in mind, that this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which means that if we see a crash in this chart, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see a crash in Ethereum versus the US dollar. A crash for Ethereum versus Bitcoin just means that Ethereum will be underperforming against Bitcoin and Bitcoin will be outperforming against Ethereum, which is one of the main reasons why I have made that small move. Once again, just moving a little bit of my Ethereum holdings into Bitcoin. And of course, if you're not following me over on my Twitter, definitely check that out in the link in the description down below, because you'll get these extra updates throughout the day in real time as soon as I'm making these moves. Now, quickly checking out Cardano versus the US dollar. This is on the 4-hour time frame. And as you can see here, Cardano has clearly broken to the downside out of this rising wedge pattern. I did actually cover this on the channel yesterday. But yeah, right now, we're still currently not really seeing much volume for Cardano. So the volume at the time of filming this video has not backed up the current move. So we haven't really seen a lot of confirmation. Now, you could say that this small bounce to the upside might have been an attempt of a retest to confirm this break to the downside, but we did not actually make it all the way up to this line just here. So that isn't necessarily a very strong confirmation as well. For all we know, if the current price of Cardano simply holds these current levels here, this could potentially form into a W pattern, which is technically speaking a bullish pattern if we break this middle area just here. And so once again, we'll need to hold above around $2.80 and we'll need to break the $2.95 level. And if that small little pattern plays out, I would actually expect Cardano to come back up towards this line up here, which is right now at just above above $3 at around $3.05, give or take. And by the way, I covered all of my price targets and important levels that I am paying attention to for Cardano in my last Cardano video that I uploaded on the channel yesterday. So for the brand new viewers on the channel, I strongly recommend you go and check out that video, because once again, those sort of price targets to the downside here, if we do see this continued break, they have not changed since yesterday. And now zooming all the way out on the daily time frame for Cardano, looking at the big picture here, something else that I also covered in yesterday's Cardano video was the similarities between right now and what was happening during the end of February this year. As you can see, we saw a major bullish movement to the upside in Cardano, and then we started to actually flatten out a little bit in the short term, but we remained forming higher highs. But in the RSI, we had lower highs, which is of course a bearish divergence, and that actually set up a major downtrend in the daily RSI, and that basically signaled a huge sideways consolidation coming next for Cardano. And once again, we are seeing some very similar things in the chart right now as to what we were forming back in around February this year once again. And also right now, we have already seen a major bearish cross in the MACD on the daily time frame for Cardano. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have a major crash or anything. It would most likely be a similar outcome to what we saw back here during around March and April this year. So of course, if you're zooming in and looking at the shorter term timeframes, we did actually have some significant moves within that sideways price action. For example, in the middle of that sideways consolidation, we had a dump of around 40%. And then what came next for Cardano was actually a 60% pump to the upside. So once again, when you're looking at the smaller timeframes, even the 4-hour time frame, those sort of moves are obviously very significant. But when you're zooming out and looking at the much bigger picture here, we were basically just in a sideways consolidation in that entire time period back there. Once again, for those 2 months, the price of Cardano was range bound. And so honestly, I would expect that over the next 1 to 2 weeks, the price of Cardano will find itself a range to actually form. And then we could potentially stay in that range for at least a few weeks, maybe even up to a month or two, because once again, that's exactly what we saw last time. Obviously, just because we saw it last time, it doesn't mean that it's definitely guaranteed to happen again. This is just to give us a good idea of what we could expect for Cardano. And right now for Cardano versus Bitcoin, we're actually seeing a continued break to the downside. As you can see, this just basically means that Cardano in the short term is underperforming against Bitcoin. So that just means that if you're holding Bitcoin and holding Cardano right now, your Bitcoin position's actually doing better than your Cardano holdings just in the short term once again. And this is to be expected if we see a breakdown in Ethereum versus Bitcoin, because Ethereum and Cardano are pretty correlated to each other. Of course, they're major competitors to each other. So generally speaking, they do actually have similar movements in the market. And right now, the technical price target for this break to the downside here is coming in at around 5,000 Satoshis for Cardano versus Bitcoin, which is pretty much the bottom of this triangle pattern just here. And right now, from the current price to that price target, that would be around a 9% dip to the downside for Cardano versus Bitcoin. And getting into some major Fibonacci levels here for Cardano versus Bitcoin, as you can see, right now we are currently testing the 23.6% Fibonacci level, and we are actually getting close to potentially breaking this level at the time of filming this video. We really need to see a gain in the immediate short term to actually get a bounce here. Otherwise, if this short-term trend continues, then obviously we will see a break below this Fibonacci level. And if we do see a break lower, then the next Fibonacci level I'll be paying attention to is the 38.2% Fibonacci level, coming in at around 5,080 Satoshis. Anything lower than that, honestly, the most significant Fibonacci level is of course the golden pocket just here. And that's also coming in contact where we've previously found massive support for Cardano. And right now that is coming in at around 4,350 Satoshis approximately. So from the current price all the way down there, that is around a 21% move to the downside for Cardano versus Bitcoin. And also in yesterday's Cardano update video, I covered this major trend in the Cardano versus Bitcoin chart. By the way, this is on the daily time frame zoomed all the way out. And for those of you that missed my last Cardano video just yesterday, I strongly recommend you watching that video after you finish watching this one. But I'll just quickly summarize what I was saying in that video about this just here. Basically, Cardano versus Bitcoin moves in these massive phases in the market. As you can see, we have this huge bullish advancement to the upside, almost a parabolic advancement. And then we see a short-term blow off top and we come right back down and enter a short-term call off and then get ready for the next huge parabolic move. And then we enter a blow off top where we basically go vertical, and then we have a violent move to the downside and enter another short-term call off, getting ready for the next huge parabolic move to the upside where we essentially go almost vertical, and then we have a blow off top and then we actually have a move to the downside. And I'm sure you can see where we are right now in this cycle. But keep in mind that in the long term here, looking at the big picture, by the way, this right here, this price action that I've just circled, that is everything that has happened this year in 2021. So even though we could be in for a bit of bearish price action for Cardano versus Bitcoin, if you're looking in the big picture, in the long-term trend, that is still in a bullish trend. As you can see, we are still forming higher lows and higher highs in the big picture here. So this could just potentially mean that there is a major opportunity coming to potentially pick up some Cardano at some cheaper prices on this Bitcoin chart just here while we're in this short-term cool-off, getting ready for the next huge parabolic move to the upside. But anyway, that's just about everything I have to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you're not missing out on any of these future videos. And as always, I really do appreciate all of your support on the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough. But anyway, that's just about everything I have to say for this video. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.